How do you keep up with all this technology?
You have to be a student of the business. If you are not a student of the business and you don't want to constantly learn, you will get left behind.
When we talk about luxury, the first thing pops up in my mind is personalization. Okay, do you really know me? Do you know what my needs are? And I think AI is such a great tool to be able to use that to understand your customer well.
At this point in time, with people and having multiple homes across the United States and in other countries, it's important that they have a real estate advisor that is at the forefront of the tech.
And calendar, you can actually connect that to your Gemini AI, your large language model, and then just ask, tell me everything about this person in the last 12 months. And it'll give you the summary of, you met this person here, this is what you spoke about, and you can actually look at that. And when you're going to a meeting, think about it, how intelligent you are.
Be curious. Be curious about everything and ask. If you're in the middle of a deal and you're negotiating something and you feel a little stumped, you'd be surprised what you could get out of that.
Hi, this is Asha Saxena. I'm a tech entrepreneur, professor at Columbia University, a best-selling author for The AI Factor and The Digital Human Advantage.
I'm Julie Foppel, CEO and founder of Realm Global, a community for the most elite real estate professionals in the world.
So this podcast is going to touch upon artificial intelligence and luxury. But most importantly, it's going to talk about how it's redefining luxury in today's day and age.
I'm so excited to learn more about how we protect our most precious assets, our relationships, using technology and artificial intelligence.
Really think about the culture and, most importantly, the human potential. I welcome you all to continue listening and participating. Welcome to Intelligent Luxury. Welcome to Intelligent Luxury. In this episode, we have our guest, Heather Domi, who's going to be talking to us about intelligent luxury. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Heather, before we get started, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, so I have been in luxury real estate for over 25 years. I started working on luxury new developments in the mid-2000s in Miami and have been in New York now for 20 years. And I work with a range of clients, anywhere from a $2 million condo here in the city up to something 40 or 60 million. So it's a broad range with very different needs for my clients.
We are entering in the age of AI, technologies really taking the lead. And when we talk about either the homes or we talk about, the comforts of the home, technology is really front and center for a lot of our customers. So I've spent close to 30 years in technology, and I've seen the evolution of technology, but I've never seen anything like what AI is doing to our world. When it can have a conversation, it can take all this data and consolidate this data to give you the nuggets about intelligence. And when you think about luxury in the form of your home, I think the world is now evolving to a place where your refrigerator or your appliances know what you want and what kind of temperature you want in the house, and you can do it from your phones. How do you define luxury for a homeowner?
So I think today it's super important that we really understand the client and the client sees us as their advisor. And the only way we can do that and have them see us as their advisor is if we are meeting them at their level. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in this industry, it's very fragmented. And if you think about a ultra high net worth individual and their advisory stack, they're going to have their wealth advisor, their CPA, family offices, all of that. And quite often the real estate advisor doesn't end up in that stack, right? And there's, I think, been a reason, but at this point in time, with people and having multiple homes across the United States and in other countries, it's important that they have a real estate advisor that is at the forefront of the tech, that understands where these assets align within their portfolios and can be an advisor in that same level that some of their other advisors are, and get put in that advisory stack. Because at the end of the day, when you think about real estate, and somebody who might have a $10 million property and they're purchasing cash, they should be giving the care of that property to an agent who is really at the level of their wealth advisors and other high level advisors, right? And so by just byproduct of that, if you're not using AI, you are not learning and you are not growing.
Absolutely.
And the speed it allows you to learn and grow and expand is incredible if you're a curious person.
I agree with you so much. And I think a lot of time AI is that silent partner for you that can give you information about your customer, what their likes and what their dislikes are. And I agree that as a customer who's coming to you for, an expensive condo, they're looking for that personalized, care. When I'm looking for properties and I have my own real estate advisors, I agree. If you see them as advisors, you get so much more back from them because they are not only telling you what's right for you, what's not right for you, and they'll come out to you and tell you this is not the right property for you. And which is, I think, so refreshing that you would think that they're trying to sell you, but they'll tell you this is not right for you, which I think is really incredible. But in addition to that, I also think the network you have that you bring to the customer of either the neighborhood, the school system, the attorneys, or any kind of services, your
Yes.
catering services, your butler services, you have that network that you actually provide to the customer, which I would say is luxury. Luxury for a
Yes.
customer not to hunt for.
Yes, for sure. It is all about full service, right? So when you think about, listen, if somebody is buying a $2 million apartment in New York City, they're staying at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, these luxury properties, so that everybody experiences luxury.
Right.
So we're talking now levels of luxury.
Right.
Right? And so what are those levels and how do we meet those needs? Because as this world is advancing, so are our clients are advancing. So they're expecting more and more and more, and being able to have that blanket of supporting cast
Right.
is really critical.
And you also talk about having not only that range of client, but also understanding how you differentiate from all the other realtors who are in the market. The supply is only so much, but you have competition to
Yes.
be able to bring the right kind of customers to the right kind of property. So, especially people who are listening, who are trying to create their own unique standing, they're probably early in their career and are working with the luxury properties. How do they really become intelligent being to make sure that they're serving?
I think that it really involves a team approach. I believe, listen, everybody runs their business differently. You have solo practitioners who have multiple assistants to run their businesses, and then there's teams with different layers and different jobs, right? So, in the landscape that we are in, I think it is about truly figuring out what the right tech stack is to support your business, because that can be overwhelming and it's getting more and more expensive to actually operate in this real estate space because of the requirements of the tech stack. You also need to remember that we are still dealing with humans and human emotions. Having the bandwidth to have a level of empathy while you're also providing layers of service that have every base covered so you're not dropping the ball is you feel like you're constantly juggling. And it's so many different skills and it's so much multitasking, but it's essential that you do it. So it's a matter of leveling up and realizing that you need to maybe not be a master of just one thing, but many different.
When we talk about luxury, the first thing pops up in my mind is personalization. Okay, do you really know me? Do you know what my needs are? And I think AI is such a great tool to be able to use that to understand your customer well. Now, this could be scary because technology is new and there's so much, available, so many different options. It's like, how do you even catch up? I was talking to somebody in the hallway who was making a reel influencer. And I said to her, oh my God, all these gadgets. And she said, let me tell you, there is an app for this. And so even for a little thing, which you're making a reel, there is an app. So how do you really keep up? And to me, I think that's what a platform like Realm, which Julie created, provides, or a network, of your peers who come together and talk about how what they're using, what they're not using becomes really helpful. How do you keep up with all this technology?
You have to be a student of the business and constantly learn.
Yep.
If you are not a student of the business and you don't want to constantly learn, you will get left behind. And being a student of the business not only involves a lot of research and reading and staying attuned to what's happening in the industry, but it also means connecting with your peers and understanding what they're doing and what's making them successful, and wanting to also be a collaborator and a giver, because if you hold all of that information to yourself at the end of the day, it doesn't move the profession forward.
Right.
And now, yes, there's in-market competition, and that's where you go outside of your market because you're more comfortable sharing with agents in other markets. So everybody should be really building kind of that national network so that you have that ability to learn.
Now, when I think about not just real estate and you think about luxury in general, your clientele is used to luxury, but you're also evolving with them. Talk to me a little bit about how do you stay in touch with the customers? How do you make sure that you're getting referrals and you're expanding with your customer and growing with your customers?
I think you have to take a serious multi-prong approach, right? And especially a lot of times when you're dealing with the ultra high net worth individuals, they're extremely busy.
Yes.
They're not looking for phone calls and chit chat, but in whatever way you can make soft touches so that they realize that you're there, and they also realize that you are that student of the business and that you are constantly concerned about staying at the top of your game. If they can see that in little small ways, whether it's being consistent with your newsletter, consistent on your social media, because people consume differently, right?
Yes.
Like there's not one way to consume. So making sure you're kind of hitting all of those media buckets. I mean, it's almost, I'm to the point where I almost feel like I need my own little media company. Ryan Serhant has done that, obviously, very successfully, but it's newsletters, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's LinkedIn, it's YouTube, it's blogs, it's website, so many different things, just so you can get those little touches that you need to that SOI, that where your relationships are strong, but they don't want to be bothered.
That's true.
So, they know you're there, and you just need to kind of keep a small, subtle presence so that they know when they need you, you're there.
It's a great point, because I agree that everybody's so busy, but staying in front of them in a fun, interesting, exciting way helps you to continue, keeping those little touches.
For sure.
I love your idea about social media. Like if you're in social media or you're sending the newsletter, now they're just seeing you around. And if something pops up for them, they'll remember that they need to call Heather because they saw that, recently that you were.
Right, for sure. I do a lot of client gifting and client events, so that's another way, even if they don't show up to the event.
Yeah.
The fact that you invited them and you had an outreach and a touch, that's part of it. But I think it's really important that if you are just having that subtle presence, they're going to know that you're there. You can do retargeting, right? Like there's all kinds of strategies. If you are keeping a CRM, and that's where the tech comes in, right? So if you have good tech that's able to plug into whatever digital advertising you want to do that allows you to retarget, then you're just kind of subtly retargeting people in your SOI that are in your CRM, and you're keeping top of mind. So it's lots of little ways that you have to get.
One great tip I was talking to somebody this morning and I was giving them was that if you're in your Google suite, so let's say your emails are in Google and your content is in Google, you can actually create a calendar. You can actually connect that to your Gemini AI, your large language model, and then just ask, tell me everything about this person in the last 12 months. And it'll give you the summary of, you met this person here, this is what you spoke about, and you can actually look at that. And when you're going to a meeting, think about it, how intelligent you are when you're actually meeting with a customer with a briefing, like your assistant giving you a briefing about this person, 12 months communication in a one-page document. So really thinking about how you can use this technology, which is available to you at a very inexpensive price.
For sure.
To be able to be ready for your meetings and show up, more intelligently. The industry is evolving. There you have ups and downs. The markets are great or bad, good or bad. There's new regulations that's coming up all the time. And now you have technology that's kind of coming in and disrupting everything. It is scary sometimes, and it is also challenging, and it also pushes you to stay ahead.
1,000%.
As we come to the close of the episode, I want you to give aways to our audience about few things that they can do. Somebody who's been in the industry for a while, and you've touched big markets. Miami and New York is a big market. What would you share to stay ahead and continue using and remembering you could be intelligent even though you're in the world of luxury market?
Be curious. Be curious about everything and ask. If you're in the middle of a deal and you're negotiating something and you feel a little stumped, you'd be surprised what you could get out of that.
That's so true.
Right? Or if you're looking to start to amp up your social media and create video content and you're trying to do it on a budget and you want to figure it out, well, you can start asking them questions and they will coach you through it entirely.
Exactly.
So there is so much to be learned at such a faster pace. And now you do have to fact check and test it sometimes, but you can learn at a much faster pace. So just be curious and use the tools. Don't be afraid to ask the questions and use the tools, because you know what? Instead of asking a person where you might feel rejected by asking a silly question, you can ask a language model and they'll give you an answer.
Absolutely.
So, and there's no judgment.
And they say keep the human in the loop. And something very important which you mentioned, and I want to make sure that the audience knows, is that trust but verify. So you want to make sure.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you are listening to the large language model, but that might not be right. So also use your intelligence and make sure that you validate what it's saying.
1,000%.
And the large language model will give you a lot of great ideas, but you don't have to use it all.
No.
Pick and choose.
Yes, for sure. I feel like they almost, once they start to get to know you,
Right.
they start giving you answers that they think you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always ask it to stress test it.
Very nice.
So that is my go-to method before I put anything out. I say, stress test, poke holes, tell me where my gaps are.
Wonderful. That's amazing, because you're really using it as an assistant, but not trusting it and saying, let's go back. I want to go deeper.
Yes.
Give me a better answer.
Yes, 1,000%. And then it just makes you so much smarter at such a faster pace. I don't know. I think it's very empowering if you use it in that way, because it elevates you on so many different levels.
We're talking about the technology, but what we haven't spoken about is the trade-off. A lot of organizations, a lot of professionals worry about adopting technology, and especially AI, because AI is good and bad. So people worry about, oh my God, we have this artificial intelligence agent or a chat bot on our website. People are not going to trust us. What do you think is the trade-off as we are thinking about technology like AI coming into our world, especially when you're an agent who has this personal connection with your customer? Do you worry about that? What would be the trade-off if you have to think about?
I think the main trade-off is the uncertainty that comes with AI and how far it can go or will go. And that everybody always says AI is going to replace us. But at the end of the day, AI is not going to be able to replace the human connection.
Sure.
And especially in our industry, especially in this market in New York City, which is a vertical market that the AI models are not able to forecast valuations very well, you need that human interaction to really understand the market and what's going on. And you can ask the language models a million times over their opinion,
Right.
and you're not going to get it. So having someone who can take what the AI gives and interpret it
Right.
is very important. But from either a corporate standpoint or an agent standpoint who's not comfortable with it, the uncertainty of where it could go and how it could replace us, I think, is scary. And nobody likes uncertainty. When we have uncertainty in the market, I don't care what it is, whether it's
True.
a political environment, the financial environment, uncertainty freezes everybody.
I agree with you completely. And I truly believe that, as you said, there is a little bit about the uncertainty is where these models are going, and it's evolving so fast. Every 2 months, we have a new model coming up. It is making things better because now you have all different, we call it multimodal AI, which is you have the images and you have the voice and you have the text. So everything is coming together now, and it's coming together in a way that you can create a beautiful graphic by using a simple tool like Gemini AI, or some people use ChatGPT or any other tools. But the question is, can you really be certain about which direction you want to go? And I think that's where you talk about human in the loop, that we as humans have to think about how are we going to use this technology to make sure that we're enhancing our business.
Well, enhancing it, and then also not being deceptive.
Right.
Right? Because it's getting to the point where people think they're walking into a home that has a new renovation and it's a 20-year-old renovation.
Right.
So, it creates more work for us. And in some regards, it would be great to start to see some regulation as to
absolutely
how we present these images, so that it just, time is the greatest luxury.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if we all have to run around to go see things in person physically because they're misrepresented, that doesn't serve anybody.
100%. And I think I like what you said. If you're authentic and you are sincere to your customers,
yes,
they know it. They know who's authentic and not, when they're
correct,
going out in the market. And having a technology using just to enable is fine, but not to, as you said, make sure you stay authentic to what you're showing.
That's
and not,
so important.
Yeah, create different images. Exactly. What I love what you said, Heather, is that always be curious, be a lifelong learner. And I think for all our audience, it is important to remember that it is a new technology and you are living in the world of luxury, and it is not going to be easy if you just sit back and be scared. So it is so critical that all of you jump right in and learn about this technology, be engaged, be curious, and make sure that you use it in an effective manner to make sure you continue providing value to wherever you go. With that, we come to an end. Thank you so much for being on the show, Heather, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll meet you next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Intelligent Luxury. Asha and I are delighted to continue on this journey with you as we continue to unpack the soul of the transaction and the intelligence of the technology.
At its best, luxury is intentional. So are the ideas you choose to engage with. If this episode inspires you or informs you, continue watching, continue listening, continue learning, and be on the path of growth. Thank you for listening. This is Intelligent Luxury.